What's going on, guys? Welcome back to The Commodity. I'm Fez, and today we are taking a look at why there's a CIA base in the center of Australia. So I was actually looking for something a little bit more about our military bases in Australia, but this is what popped up, and I was like, well, this seems awfully intriguing. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. If you enjoy this video, of course, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. But gaming channel, also link to our Discord is going to be down in the description. Also, you can click right here, whichever side. I always get confused, but click there, and actually you won't be able to see it because I always have the video on this side. So it's going to be on this side, just all the way up to the top. Whatever. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump into this.
Australia is a fascinating continent. As the driest continent in the world apart from Antarctica, it's no surprise that Australia is home to the second largest desert of the inhabited Earth's continents, remaining only behind the Sahara of northern Africa in scale and scope. The Great Australian Desert spans more than a third of the continent and is larger in size than the entirety of Kazakhstan. And it's partially because of this desert that Australia itself, despite being the sixth largest country in the world in terms of land, is only the 53rd largest country in...
Wait, what? China is bigger in land size than the U.S.? This doesn't add up. This says 9,833,000. I don't know why they're... Yeah, last time I heard it was Russia, Canada, U.S. And then after that. And Antarctica isn't even a freaking country. It's a continent. It's barely a continent. It's a landmass. So this is a little off. And then Brazil. Okay. I don't get that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's inaccurate. Landing miles. Because I've never heard China being bigger than the U.S. I'm just being honest. I mean, I could be wrong, of course. Total in kilometers squared. I mean, it's either this or it's this. I mean, like, what is the range here?
In the world in terms of land is only the 53rd largest in terms of people, with a modest population of less than 26 million citizens. We're around the same size as North Korea, but within this vast, inhospitable, and empty desert, at the precise geographic center of the Australian continent, exists a surprising and relatively unknown secret of enormous geopolitical importance. One of the largest overseas military bases of the United States of America, operated by the Central Intelligence Agency, the National Security Administration, and the National Reconnaissance Office with a full 800 combined personnel. The base is located nearby to the small Australian town of Alice Springs. Population just 26,000 or so people. But besides for that, there is no larger town that exists anywhere nearby to this base, within a zone of about 700,000 square kilometers, roughly equivalent in area to the US state of Texas. So to say that this American intelligence base, with hundreds of American intelligence officers operating within the dead center of Australia, is a remote location would be an incredible understatement. From the small Australian town of Alice Springs, if you take a short drive just 10 minutes or so to the southwest, you'll quickly run into various threatening signs like this one warning you to turn your car around and proceed no further, or else face some vague consequences. Just beyond these signs is, of course, the top secret joint intelligence base of Pine Gap, run by both the American and Australian governments.
Ooh.
And unless you've watched the Netflix series about this base going under the same name, you've...
Oh, that's why this popped up, because I did search Pine Gap, but I didn't see anything on this saying Pine Gap, so I was more curious about it because I got a lot of comments, and to be honest with you, I haven't really heard about Pine Gap. I mean, I don't think we learned much about this, if anything, so it was very specific. Is that a swimming pool?
probably never even heard of this place or knew that such an important American operation existed in the middle of the Australian outback. And going under the more official codename of Project Rainfall, it has a very long and mysterious history here, going back decades into the past. You see, as the global Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union intensified during the 1960s, both nations began sending up satellites into space. With the launching of the earliest intelligence-gathering satellites, there was a recognition that real-time command and control over these platforms were necessary, and data collection to monitor geopolitical adversaries from afar was required. An American base to operate these American intelligence and spy satellites operating over the planet's eastern hemisphere could have theoretically been constructed anywhere, but the precise geographic center of the Australian continent was chosen for a number of strategically important factors. First, the sheer isolation of such a base deep within the continental interior of Australia, more than 900 kilometers away from the nearest coastline, ensured that any potential spy ships from foreign nations passing around would be incapable of intercepting any of the signals coming down to the base from the satellites.
Interesting.
Second, the base would be located deep within Australia, a country who is very friendly and allied towards the United States, and far away from any major Australian population centers around the coasts. And third, and perhaps most importantly, the location where the station would be built required the base of the floor and surrounding hills to not exceed 6 degrees, at the precise coordinates of Pine Gap's location in the center of Australia at latitude 23.8 degrees south and longitude 133.74 degrees east. The ability would be gained to allow for high connectivity with satellites stationed as far as 60 degrees east and as far east as 153 degrees west, effectively covering the entirety of China, North Korea, the Indian subcontinent, and a significant portion of the then Soviet Union. In short, it was a very logically chosen location to construct a satellite intelligence base at. And as a result, by late 1966, the American and Australian government signed a treaty calling for the creation of a US satellite surveillance base in Australia, which eventually became the modern Pine Gap, where operations began in 1970 with the relocation of hundreds of American families to the center of the outback. But there was another, larger intelligence alliance at work here that led to the creation of the base as well. Known as the Five Eyes, this is an intelligence alliance of the 5 major English-speaking democracies around the world of the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Created during the fires of...
So this is like the alliance of alliances. Like, I mean, you want to talk about a big family, you know what I mean? I think... it's kind of cool. I'm not going to lie. Like, I like having this group of people together, if that makes sense. I mean, U.S., Canada, of course, all of them are, besides the U.S., are, what do they call them? Commonwealths of the United Kingdom. But even if that ever fades away or goes away, I still feel like this is still the alliance of alliances. Anybody wants to fight this group of people, nothing separates us besides water. We all have a common goal and common hopes and common love for one another. We do have, different belief systems, but at the same time, it's such a group. Like, I think it's badass. I'm sorry. I just think it's really, really cool that as big as the world is, we make the world really small for us, for this group here. So I think it's super cool.
The Second World War and expanded during the Cold War, this alliance structure enables all member states' intelligence agencies to easily cooperate with each other and share all of their worldwide data. As the Cold War continued to rage and new threats to the United States emerged, like the People's Republic of China, Vietnam, and later on, Iraq and Afghanistan, Pine Gap continued to play a pivotal role in providing intelligence while dramatically growing in size to the point where, today, it boasts nearly 40 separate antennas across the site and has operated at least 9 geosynchronous satellites owned by various US spy agencies over the past 45 years. Now, what makes these kinds of satellites uniquely well suited to the mission of intelligence gathering is that within a geosynchronous orbit, they travel in the same direction as the Earth's rotation, and therefore retain the exact same orbital period as that of the Earth's rotation, which effectively just means that they view the exact same portion of the Earth's surface at all times, as if they're sort of fixed in position on the map. This is in stark contrast to satellites that operate in lower Earth orbits, which circle around the planet often multiple times a day, and move at a relative pace much faster. One of the unique advantages of a geosynchronous orbit for a spy satellite is that within this range, it can see an enormous amount of the Earth's surface all at once. In fact, if you were to go and do all the math and run the calculations for this, it turns out to be just a tad bit less than half of the Earth's entire surface. This, of course, makes it incredibly easy for the spy satellite above to gather a vast amount of information from a very large area beneath it. And so today, there are 3 of these types of geosynchronous spy satellites known to be operated from Pine Gap, all at the same line of latitude. Orion 5 above the western Indian Ocean, Orion 7 at the western tip of the Indonesian island of Sumatra, and Orion 3 just west of the Indonesian island of Sulawesi.
Lots of overlap
Each of these
there.
3 geosynchronous satellites sit at an altitude of about 36,000 kilometers above the Earth's surface at these precise coordinates, and they each collect an incredibly wide range of electronic signals from the Earth's surface beneath them, like radio communications, radar emissions, microwave transmissions, missile telemetry, satellite and cell phone transmissions, and even more. These 3 satellites effectively grant American intelligence agencies, and therefore the intelligence of all the Five Eyes member states, an incredible degree of satellite coverage.
That's so cool. I'm sorry. I just think that sounds dope. The Five Eyes. That's really cool. Yeah, mess with us. Mess with Australia. Mess with little New Zealand down there. Mess with the U.S. Mess with Canada or the U.K. It ain't going to turn out well.
Coverage across every single area of modern U.S. critical strategic concern. From Western Africa, across the Middle East, Ukraine, Russia, Iran, Afghanistan, China, and North Korea. More than half of the Earth's surface outside of the polar regions. Once data from these regions is received by the satellites, their information is relayed via a signal back to the Pine Gap base in the center of Australia, and then disseminated from there towards the various intelligence agencies of the Five Eyes member states, like the American CIA and British MI6. And while controversial at times, the American intelligence capabilities that are granted by satellite sites around the world like Pine Gap are unmatched by any other intelligence agency in the world. And while most of what these satellites do is top secret and highly classified, we all know that launching those satellites, maintaining them up there, and gathering all that data from the surface below is an incredibly difficult feat to accomplish. And if you're anything like me, then you're probably curious how satellites like these actually work, and more to the point, how anything actually works. Understanding the difficult to understand is the very essence of STEM fields. But for a lot of us, myself included, STEM subjects like engineering and math and make the seemingly impossible possible have never come as easy to understand. But luckily, we can all get our own little dose of scientific learning every day now from
brilliant. He's always done brilliant ads. Yeah, no, that's crazy to think. You know, you just and really, you know, just because it's the Five Eyes or whatever you want to call it, really, it's also any other country that does kind of have our same belief system and understand that we're just trying to, you know, keep things in check. And I mean, when I say we, the group, the five, we're not It's not like we're sitting here trying to start wars with countries just to start wars at this point. At this point, I feel like some of them were just to start wars back in the day. But really, like, you know, like the what am I trying to say? The Vietnam War, the what's the other one I can't even think of right now. My brain is shot. It's Sunday and I'm supposed to be days off, and I wasn't gonna film for today because I always said that I'm gonna be taking Sundays off, but what am I doing anyways? I'm just gonna lay on the couch. I need to do something productive. So, but it's just really cool. I find it really interesting. I love the fact that it's not just the U.S. doing this. I like that it's every group of this, the Five Eyes or whatever you want to call it. I think it's just amazing that we're able to work together like this, and you know, and it makes it more like swallowable, digestible to know that we're doing this as a joint instead of us spending all the money just doing it for ourselves, knowing that we work with other countries that have similar views. Just because y'all use Parliament and we use the I just can't even think of our what we call ourselves, our democratic process, through presidents and elections and stuff like that. I mean, y'all do elections as well, but y'all just do a different system altogether. But I think that y'all's system honestly is really good. It's just the only thing I disagree with is giving props to a group of people that are just born in a family. I really, 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 really don't like that idea. But that's here nor there. That's here nor there. Because I understand their case now. At first, when I was learning about this stuff, I didn't understand it. Now that I do, I get it, but I don't necessarily still like it. But anyways, let me know in Australia if you like how this works or if you do not like how Pine Gap works. If you see the positives or if you just see negatives or if you see both, let me know down in the comments. I'm curious on your take because obviously this is happening in your country and not mine. So I totally, totally understand that you're going to have a different perspective than I do. Personally, I would be, if it was in the US and we had Canada, Australia, the UK, and New Zealand all in there, I would be fine with it. You know, it is what it is. I mean, it's got to be in somebody's backyard, and I feel like we probably have something like that here. It's just we had to have something somewhere else to cover the other side of the planet. So I'm kind of curious of what we have in the US that's like Pine Gap. So if you know of something, let me know down in the comments. I'm really curious where the Five Eyes kind of come together and work together in the US or in Canada or even in the UK. I'd really, really be interested. But guys, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. And until next time, bye.